Allow me to talk about Mwenda Njoka's elder brother, John MBIJIWE. I've already talked about Mwenda Njoka. You can scroll down and you'll find there is a video I've recorded about him. Today I want to talk about his brother, and we are talking about MBIJIWE family wars or MBIJIWE family problems. They say that when problems come, they don't come singularly. I think the family is really going through a hard time. And the family has been going through a hard time for over 10 years. The elder brother, who is my age mate, was more known. He has handled a lot of things, but Mwenda was known for two things. Mwenda is known for two things. One, whenever there was TV programs talking on matters to do with security, he used to go and give opinion. And two, Mwenda was known because of the way he has disappeared. I think today we will not talk about Mwenda. Let me try to talk about John MBIJIWE. But I would really request people to handle the issue of Mwenda with a lot of care. I'd be surprised if he's alive. I'll not be surprised if he's dead. You see, kidnapping somebody like MBIJIWE, Mwenda MBIJIWE, for a long time, it's quite expensive. And it is quite risky. Let me say it is quite risky. Being a security expert, he could find a way and run away. It is okay. Let us take a military and a member of the disciplined services, and then let's say a seminarian. You see, a seminarian, you can kidnap him for ages, but somebody with a military training, there is a possibility he could run away, and if he runs away, you'll be exposed. So I don't think anybody can kidnap him for that long and keep him and use a lot of expenses on such. But anyway, one way or another, the truth will come out. Today we are talking about John MBIJIWE. He came to the limelight when the case of Waiganjo Runo came. No, not Waiganjo Runo. Waiganjo Karianjai. Okay, I used to have a boss called Waiganjo Runo. And I used to have, at the same time, when Waiganjo Runo was the boss, OCPD Kapenguria, his deputy was Karianjai. So, forgive me for the mix of name. John MBIJIWE came into limelight at the time of Waiganjo Karianjai. He is an elder brother to Mwenda MBIJIWE. Both are sons of the former GSU commandant, Mr. MBIJIWE. Both have faced calamities of the highest level. Both have faced the calamity of the highest level. Mwenda is lost, probably dead. John was affected by when John was affected by the Waiganjo issue. He was affected by Waiganjo issue. According to John, what John tells people and what he has been telling people is that he is the one who disclosed to Waiganjo. The one who disclosed to Waiganjo. And instead of people thanking him, they interdicted him and pushed him to the law courts. The truth of the matter, let me tell you now the truth. The truth of the matter are 2 points. Waiganjo had outlived his importance, just like a vehicle. You buy a vehicle, And then after some times it becomes a scrap metal. You do away with it, you buy a new one, isn't it? So Waiganjo had outlived his importance. And the second reason was Waiganjo had lived a boastful life, and hence the need to throw him into the furnace. Boastful, he had lived a boastful life. What I mean is that he was a very proud man. In Kiswahili wanasema mtu wa madharau. When throwing something to the furnace, when you are throwing something to the furnace, be very careful. If you remember the Old Testament, where the young believers were thrown into burning furnace, and gods were used to take coal and throw in to burn those young men. If you remember very well, those gods were also burned to death. So when you are when you are doing the work of those gods, be careful. You'll also get burned and even die with them. So those who threw the coal themselves died, if you remember the Bible very well. And when a person like Waiganjo is being thrown into the furnace, and you are told to throw in some coal, remember, you can be burned. I have talked about Waiganjo in an earlier recording. More than is it a year or even more than a year? You can still go read it. And if you remember very well, before the case of Waiganjo and MBIJIWE was determined, I was being interviewed by KTN. If you go to the KTN, the video that talks about JM Karaoke, the video that is talking about JM Karaoke, you'll find that I said that Waiganjo is not a fake police officer, but Waiganjo was a genuine police reservist of the rank of assistant commissioner. So, in brief, Waiganjo started off as a taxi driver. When you go towards, there is a police station. There is a police station, I think, towards Kitale Polytechnic, and he used to either that police station or the police station at an opposite Kitale Hotel. He used to go there, stay there, even very late in the night, so that anybody with a police case at night who wants to go home would hire him as a taxi driver. So he started off as a taxi driver who was next to the police station always. He upgraded from a taxi driver. He became both a taxi driver and a police informer. Then later on, he became a taxi driver and a police reservist. That is how he was upgraded. In the police reserve, he pushed for promotions unfairly. He pushed for promotions unfairly. The National Police Reserve boss was of the rank of assistant commissioner reserve. That is why you find there is an R in brackets, just similar to retired. So the overall head of the police reserve Kenya wide was an assistant. I think he was even a reverend, a Mzungu reverend. It's a long time, I can't recall. So the national boss was an assistant commissioner. Him in Nakuru was of the same rank as the National Police Reserve boss. Yet there was a senior superintendent reserve whom he was answerable to. What's more, only the commandant of the police reserve has a pay. Even today, the person who is on pay within the reservist and home guards is the national commandant. Because this is a full-time person, you can even see in the army, both UPDF and KDF, find that there is a brigadier, the defense headquarters, who handles veterans and reserve matters. So that one is a full paid person. All others are only paid out of pocket expenditures and that, but they are not on salary. So you cannot. It is not like the other departments where any promotion or even you cannot even be promoted. But if you are made to be in charge of a certain office, there are occasions when you are given what we call responsibility allowance. So there is nothing. If you are a constable, you are a corporal, you are even an inspector of the reserve, you don't get any pay. So apart from prestige, he could he could have well been a chief inspector reserve. Could as well have been a chief inspector reserve. I'm trying to concentrate. I'm trying to concentrate on John MBIJIWE and not Waiganjo. But you see, they are just like Siamese twins. Most of the things you will talk about MBIJIWE or Waiganjo, you have to talk about them both. But what Waiganjo used to do was once he was close to an OCS, he disregarded the constables. For example, when he used to moonlight at Kitale police station while awaiting for late people to take them to wherever they are going, he befriended the OCS. And while he befriended the OCS, these are the type of people saying, who tell constable, sisi tunakunywaga na ma OCS, hatukunywagi na watu wadogo kama nyinyi. Then after knowing the OCS, the OCS introduced him to the OCPD and said this. He introduced him because the kind of intelligence he was giving was of a high class. So once he was close to OCS, OCS introduced him to the OCPD saying that he is a very good intelligence gatherer. Once he was close to the OCPD, he disregarded the OCS. So he was closely related to Saitoti as an aide. Let me say that even right now, with the anti-corruption, with IPOA and so on and so forth, you find that I remember talking to some people in anti-corruption, and I was telling them, why do you go for constables at the roadblock? And we all know how the money is shared. Then they said that proving that the base commander is the one who's organizing that is a bit hard. So we only go for what we can. And that is how it goes. A person like Saitoti, when he was the Minister for Internal Affairs, whenever you'd want to pick anything or whatever, there are people like Kina Waiganjo he used. He used people like Waiganjo to do the that, so that in the case of any trap, it doesn't get him. You may even find that such people may even open their account, and their account has millions. So someone wonders how a taxi driver has millions. It's because accounts run by civil servants or public officers can be checked with the anti-corruption, ethics and anti-corruption commission. But if you place it in the hands of somebody else, but these things have also got their own problems. Because you remember, there was a case where Moi had appointed somebody to take shares in a certain company, KCC, milk company. Kulel, yeah, it was Kulel. Kulel had 25% shares in KCC. And Moi was making sure that KCC moves from being a parastatal to being a private company. So Joshua Kulei had a quarter of the shares. He had a quarter of the shares of that company. So when Kibaki came over and Moi wanted the shares back, Kulei refused. So we have such people, and it is generally believed that Waiganjo used to pick tabs for Saitoti. Once Saitoti died, Waiganjo would go to vigilance house and look down upon even the commissioner himself, the head of the police. Once I thought he died, vigilance house wanted to do away with him. They really wanted to do away with him. Since he didn't recognize them, those below the latest catch. He used to disregard anybody below his latest catch. So the assignment fell on Bijiwe, since 90% of Waiganjo's work was, or 90% of Waiganjo's Vituk was done in Rift Valley. And what's more, Bijiwe had just been promoted. John Bijiwe had just been promoted and appointed to be the PP, or the head of police in Rift Valley. People talk of killing several birds with one stone, and that is how Bijiwe now fitted the bill. People, many people didn't like him, and so that is why, instead of him being used as a prosecution witness, he was placed among the co-accused. Life in the police for a child of a senior police officer is very challenging. It is very challenging. Nobody knows that more than me, and obviously John Bijiwe. When he was recruited into the police force, that was February 1983, his father was the national head of the GSU. That is, his father was the commandant of the GSU. I don't think that John Bijiwe had any education post Form 4. I think he was a Form 4. I think he was a Form 4 because we knew all the people who were in Form 6. Although he was not in my detail was, we started in November 82. And when we were midterm, that is February 83, that is when they came, Kinambijiwe. But I don't think he was among the Form 6. I stand to be corrected. But we can not deny that being closely related to a senior police officer has aided many. Yeah, there are so many people who have been. In fact, there are times when I was in the police force, in 1 minute you'd be living in hell, and in the next minute you are in heaven, depending on which boss you met. You could meet somebody who was very soft to your father, who was very close to your father. There are those even who would sit with me for hours, telling me how my father assisted them and whatever. There are others who would say how my father punished them, or there are others who punished me because they had heard from their colleagues that my father used to. It is like my life had been punished by a senior police officer. Then I go to a certain station to head the station and find a son of a senior police officer retired who used to punish other people. So this officer is punishing me in a two-way. One is repaying another senior officer who punished him, and the other side is he's punishing me for the people whom my father punished. So in the police service, especially during my time, I don't know whether it is still there, you would move from a very friendly, from hell to heaven and back within no time, just like a blinking disco light. I also remember, like there was a chief inspector, I'll not mention his name, but we used to call him Museveni. He really wanted me to go to Elmi Triangle, and I applied to go to Northeastern. While in Nairobi, I felt I didn't want to work. Reaching Nairobi, I felt I didn't want to work. Maybe I would have even been declared a deserter. But since I didn't want to work, uh, I visited Sakari. Visited Sakari uh, at the police headquarters. Then he told me that there was. He told me. He told me, what are you doing in Nairobi? I said, I've I've lost. Actually, that is the only. I think that is the only time in police that I wanted. I didn't care. You even would have not minded if I left the service. He noticed that, and then he told me that there were rumors around that the commandant Kiganjo had a son with Form 6 qualification. Rush there so that you don't miss out that chance to be included in the course for inspector's course. So yes, there are those things that happen in the police force where you gain something because you are son of a senior officer. That one we cannot deny. But any favorable thing coming your way is always said that it is because of your father. Uh, you go to the next promotion, people say, sini mtoto ya Kwatenge. My father was Lando, but people used to call him Kwatenge because of his father. So who's the mtoto ya Kwatenge? Actually, I used to even get embarrassed sometimes when people ask me, when mtoto ya Kwatenge? And in the police is just like jail. You don't do a lot of explaining, because I would have explained that I am the Kwatenge, and the person you are talking is the one who is yeye ndio mtoto ya Kwatenge. Remember when I was 9 years service, I was preparing to get promoted to the rank of chief inspector after 9 years service. I have a brother, same mother, same father, a younger brother who joined the police in 1990 and is still a constable. Of course, as much as we benefit from the blood relative, we also suffer for the same. For an average officer, John MBIJIWE shot up very fast. If you look at the time he joined, 1983, and in 1993, he was the OCPD E10. That one, sincerely speaking, he shot up very fast. And so did I. I also shot up very fast. Were I not terminated quickly, I would have been even ahead of him in ranks. Even if you stagnate, if you are closely related to a senior officer, even if you stagnate, they say, for example, you get to grade 6 in 30 years. Then they say, this one is lazy, this one doesn't know the job. Actually, you would have been in grade 2, why it not his? Or even if you stagnate in the same, say, huyu ameoza. In fact, why it not for people closely associated with his relative, and the foot was a man. So we are always connected to, we are always, but one thing people forget, you see, if you are related, many people, you see, any person growing up, the first profession you come across is your parents' profession. That's the first profession you come from across. Look at the two people. One is or three. One is a child of a doctor. One is a child of a teacher, and one is a child of an army officer. You see, the child of an army officer grows up all the time saying salute, salute, salute. He or she is used to seeing people saluting each other. Now, a child of a teacher doesn't know about saluting. Imagine a child of a teacher has seen the parents or the father pocketing while talking to the head teacher. But a child of a police officer or a military officer would be shocked to see a teacher talking to a head teacher while pocketing. So you find that we are born. For example, the year I was born, my father became an inspector. When I was 2 years old, my father became an OCS. When I was in Form 3, my father became a provincial. When I was in standard 3, when I was standard 3, standard 2, when I was in standard 2, my father became an OCPD. When I was in Form 3, my father became a provincial CID officer. So you find that you grow up in that environment. So when you find some of us loving those jobs, because sincerely, 1982, a Form 6 wanting to join the police, not as an inspector, but as a constable. You have to read between the lines. So we have to say that sometimes when we blame the people, we just say, oh, anapendeleo kwa ajili. There's some of these things we go through, but maybe in occasions like this is when I can talk. You can see that the case of Waiganjo became very expensive to John MBIJIWE. It became very expensive to John MBIJIWE. He was serving on half salary. He was serving on half a salary. Yet, you have to have a lawyer for that case. So even in that, and lawyers are not cheap. Doctors are. When he won the case and was reinstated, he found new ranks. He found new ranks. He was assigned the rank of Commissioner of Police. He was assigned the rank of Commissioner of Police, meaning that he was on the same rank with the police boss in Elgeyo Marakwet, where he had been before he got 2 promotions. From Elgeyo Marakwet, he was promoted to Deputy Provincial Police Officer, and later he became Provincial Police Officer. So he found himself that he was putting on the insignia of a county police boss when, imagine, he was in charge of Rift Valley, last station, which means he was in charge of from Lokitang to Loitoktok. Now he was putting on the same rank as somebody in charge of Elgeyo Marakwet. What's more, the people who are now putting on the same like him are people who were OCS when he was the provincial police officer. Now somebody who was an OCS when he was a provincial police officer are now on the same level with him. You see, hiyo ni machungu. Now let us talk about his father. Let us talk about his father. Talking about his father would require such a long recording. Maybe I will do so in future. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that in future. His father was the Rift Valley Provincial Police Officer. His father was the Rift Valley Provincial Officer when the government was being overthrown in 1982. Him, together with the 2 Sumbeywas and others, are the ones who organized for the same passage for Moi from Kabarak or whichever farm he was hiding in to Nairobi. So Moi, to pay him, Moi organized for him to be promoted to be the commandant of GSU. As a Luhya, we have some traditions, and as a Luhya, sometimes we look at this thing and we tend to believe that if things happen badly to your children, if things are happening badly to your children, you find most of your children now live. These are people who are very senior. John was in charge of the whole of Rift Valley Police. His brother Mwenda was ACD, Anti-Aircraft Defense Unit in the Air Force. These are people who had enviable positions, but they are really suffering more than others. there was a program which you say the rich also cry. Such things, if you are to follow the Luhya tradition, we try to say, Luhyas try to believe that maybe the old man, there's something wrong that he did to people during his service, that they are being paid through the sons, because Such a senior family and getting such a major problems. It is quite, but let us pray for them. Let us pray for them.